Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Cabot. My name is Casey Sword, Executive Director at the Cabot, and we're so glad to have you here this evening for our Art as Activism Film Festival. I want to thank Leading Ladies and Salem 5 Bank for your generous support and for bringing this wonderful program to our theater. As we know, the arts can inspire change, and telling stories is a way of sharing our humanity. We are proud to give young filmmakers a platform to tell their stories. And we're doing just that with our new film program at the Cabot. We're calling it In Focus, and it's for middle schoolers. It's going to begin a pilot program this March, with the full program launching this September. We wanted to open up the Cabot as a safe space for young filmmakers to tell their stories and to create a community around storytelling. I want to congratulate all of the young filmmakers this evening. I know we are in for a transformative experience as we witness the power of the arts together.
As a film producer and a founder of the Salem Film Fest, I'm regularly asked to visit high school media classrooms to take a look at student films and offer conceptual suggestions and technical advice. This has always been a pleasure for me, something I look forward to. Some of the work I've seen produced for high school assignments is amazingly good, short films as powerful and memorable as features we showcased in the main Salem Film Fest programming. Some of these student films are hilarious. Some are upbeat and inspiring, and others are exceptionally intimate and troubling, offering intense glimpses into the struggles of being an adolescent in today's world. But even after watching films that wrestled with immense challenges, I didn't leave feeling sad. I felt hope. As we're getting ready to take a look at the work of young filmmakers tonight, I want to briefly share where I think that hope comes from and why it's so powerful. But first I want to give a couple of huge shout-outs. One to Leading Ladies for organizing and sponsoring this first annual Art as Activism Film Contest. Thank you for your commitment to equal access for all, to education, healthcare, housing, food, jobs, and representation, and for your programs to promote education, conversation, and an activist definition of citizenship. The other shout-out goes to the Cabot for hosting this important event and providing an opportunity for young cinematographers to see their work on the big screen on the Cabot stage, or the big digital screen available all over the world. You never know how this kind of experience can influence a life. As a founder of the Cabot Performing Arts Center, it's truly gratifying to see this beautiful, historic, vibrant venue used as a showcase for young talent, and a way for the community to catch a glimpse of the future of filmmaking. Tonight, both of these organizations are providing hope. And hope is in short supply right now. You don't need me to tell you that, but I'm going to anyway, in order to make a very important point. Right now, we're in the middle of at least 5 serious crises. A deadly, global, evolving pandemic has disrupted every aspect of normal life, confronting each of us with a terrifying prospect or experience of serious illness or death. Our political systems are polarized and broken, and many of the norms for constructive conversation to address the most important issues have been trampled. The climate impacts of our use of fossil fuels are becoming more visible and disruptive every day in wildfires, intense storm systems, and extreme temperatures. The economy seems tenuous and volatile for everyone except a few. A growing income disparity leaves essential workers on the edge of poverty and eviction, and frays and tears the social fabric that holds our communities together. As we watched the filmed murder of George Floyd, many in our nation were able to see clearly the system of racial injustice on which our society was built. But what does it feel like to be a high school student in these troubled times? If it's difficult for adults, how overwhelming must it feel to teenagers? According to the Surgeon General, young Americans are also in the midst of an urgent mental health crisis. In a statement released this December 17th, Dr. Vivek Murthy writes, quote, "Even before the pandemic, an alarming number of young people struggled with feelings of helplessness, depression, and thoughts of suicide, and rates have increased over the past decade. The COVID-19 pandemic further altered their experiences at home, school, and in the community, and the effect on their mental health has been devastating. The future well-being of our country depends on how we support and invest in the next generation. We can all work together to step up for our children during this crisis." Unquote. I took the time to list all these crises to underscore the point that it was during these times, under the pressure of multiple traumas, that the films we're about to watch were created. I had the privilege of previewing these videos, and rather than leaving me depressed about the state of the world or the experience of life as a teenager in America, they left me feeling hopeful. A number of the films you will see tonight were created by first-time filmmakers. Some of the techniques are iffy, some mistakes were made in the process, but it's clear that they are finding their way, and I hope they will continue to refine this craft in the months and years ahead. But the best of these films are not merely quality self-expression. They can truly be called art. And art is powerful. It gives us hope. On the most superficial level, art distracts us from our troubles. But it can also help us see connections and meaning and solutions we didn't see before. Art can transport us to a different place, or to a different perspective on the same place, a perspective that feels more hopeful and positive. In a polarized world, art helps unite us, helps us remember the ways we are already united. In a speech at the Davos World Economic Forum, artist Olof Eliasson noted, quote, "A work of art can make us more tolerant of difference and of one another. An encounter with art and with others over art can help us identify with one another, expand our notion of we, and show us that individual engagement in the world has actual consequences," unquote. I know that for young filmmakers, the process of just creating a film feels exhilarating. Learning to listen for your own voice and then speak with your own voice is a heady and joyful experience. And many of these filmmakers are using their voice to directly address the very challenges that make these troubled times so difficult. That's what gives me hope. But art requires a creator and an audience. It's in that communal event, like the one we're participating in tonight, that art becomes transformative. I was particularly moved by 4 of these films. Remember Your Roots is a simple portrait of 2 women whose personal journey blazed a trail for LGBTQI rights. Behind the Bathroom Door presents a series of scenes of young women, allowing us to glimpse moments of sorrow, camaraderie, panic, isolation, gossip, pain, and relief. The Movement Family is a stirring introduction to an inspiring nonprofit organization in Lawrence, Mass., and the passionate young man who founded it when he was just 18 years old. And Generation Burnout is a powerfully direct series of first-person perspectives on the devastations and gifts provided by the pandemic, with an ending focused on the idea and possibility of hope. Can a film made by a teenager change the world? And if so, how much difference can it make? It may be good for us to remember that on May 25th, 2020, the world was irrevocably transformed by a video shot in front of the Cup food store in Minneapolis by 17-year-old filmmaker Darnella Frazier. To the makers of tonight's films, I say congratulations and thank you for sharing your voice and your vision with the world. Keep following your passion and keep making art. To Leading Ladies and the Cabot, thank you for investing in these young filmmakers in a way that gives them courage and joy and amplifies their voice and vision. And to all of you who have gathered for this important event, both in person and virtually, thank you for making community and conversation possible. I hope your world is transformed a little bit tonight, and I hope you leave feeling a little more hope.
Welcome to the first annual Art as Activism Film Contest for high school students. Leading Ladies is thrilled to inaugurate this event and highlight the work of so many passionate and creative young people. Leading Ladies is committed to fighting for equity in education, healthcare, housing, and the workplace, and against bigotry in all its ugly forms. We lobby for sensible gun control laws, humane immigration policies, and effective climate control initiatives. We know that meaningful change requires education and the dissemination of information. Art is an incredible means to inform, motivate, and inspire people to take the action that leads to societal change. The films you are about to see will prove that point. Be prepared to be moved. Let me now introduce our top 10 films and their makers. Please note that these are not in any order. The top 3 winners will be announced after the screening. Number 1, Climate Change in the City, filmmakers Abby Joyner and Marlo Johnson. Equal Education, filmmakers Rihanna Riaz, Makari Joyner, Chelsea Cashin, Simon Zhao, and Cora Knoll. Under the Skyline, filmmaker Selena Liu. Equal Education, filmmaker Finn Duff. Plum Island Erosion, filmmakers Bryce Champiti and Amelia Barlow. The Movement Family, filmmaker Tyler Garvey. Climate Change, filmmaker Riley Thurston. Generation Burnout, filmmaker Lena Facecorn. Remember Your Roots, filmmaker Carly Reiter. And Behind the Bathroom Door, filmmaker Lisa Kress. Please, let's give another round of applause for these wonderful films by the high school students. And we'd also like to thank our judges, Jesse Sosorian, an independent filmmaker whose work has been seen at Sundance and many other prestigious festivals, Paul Van Ness, whom you just met, and Andre Morgan, the Director of Opportunity, Access, and Equity for the Beverly Public Schools. Before we announce the top 3 winners, we would like to recognize 4 films for honorable mention. Each one was outstanding and missed the top 3 by fractions. They are Behind the Bathroom Door, filmmaker Lisa Kress from Walnut Hill School for the Arts. Under the Skyline, filmmaker Selena Liu from the Governor's Academy. Equal Education, filmmakers Rihanna Riaz, Makari Joyner, Chelsea Cashin, Simon Zhao, and Cora Knoll from the Governor's Academy. And Plum Island Erosion, filmmakers Bryce Champiti and Amelia Barlow from the Governor's Academy. Now for the top 3 who will receive cash prizes for their exceptional work. Third prize goes to Carly Reiter from Maynard High School for the film Remember Your Roots. The judges commented, "Beautiful love story that humanizes the issue of LGBTQ inclusion and the willingness of some pioneers to change the world through their personal journeys. This is a great film. The story is moving. It felt the most complete of all the films I saw." Second prize goes to Tyler Garvey from the Governor's Academy for the film The Movement Family. The judges said, "This is great subject matter, and the usage of interviews with stills and B-roll was very advanced for a young filmmaker. Powerful film." And first prize goes to Lena Facecorn from Raw Artworks for the film Generation Burnout. The judges thought the subjects were intelligent and eloquent and natural, which was very moving, and that the film offered a powerful and rare glimpse at the ideas, hopes, struggles, and dreams of Gen Z young adults. Very engaging and thought-provoking. Congratulations to you all. Before we go, I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight, and I'd also like to express our gratitude to our judges and the Cabot for helping us shine a light on the work of these talented young people. Good night.
A code red for humanity. Tonight we begin with the wake-up call from the United Nations on what they call the unequivocal impact humans are having on our planet.
Climate change is now rapid, widespread, and intensifying. That is according to a devastating report by the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which warns that many human-caused effects are now irreversible.
The signs are all there, with fires raging around the world, in Greece and Turkey and in California.
Should do, like what?
Not litter and kill plastic.
Yeah, that's pretty smart, right?
Kill plastic, throw it away.
So, the city's environment is pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
Do you think we should all try to fix it, and all as humanity, every single human, try really hard to fix it?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the interview.
Bye-bye.
hard, actually. And there is a small minority of people of color, and we all kind of could relate a little bit to each other because we all understood how it was to feel on the outside. So we had that small connection between us. So it was almost like we had a little group of, we felt comfortable with each other. But when we were, with other kids and teachers, the curriculum there was really one-sided, and there was a lot of biases, I feel, and some incidents, including racism and things that just shouldn't have been said.
I went to a predominantly white institution, Alabama Christian Academy, a day school that's down there. And even my time there at Alabama Christian was interesting because I was one of 2 black students to graduate from my class when I was in high school. And for me, I didn't have a me when I was in high school. Right? And so at the end of the day, I'm me, particularly for black and brown students, but especially for white students to see that I have to be there for them too, is because I didn't exist when I was in high school. There was no me.
It really impacted them in a negative way because people didn't understand different viewpoints. They always saw this one side, and I think that's very negative for a young child to go through, because all of a sudden when they grow up and they go out in the world, there's so many things that they don't realize and they don't learn, and with this one-sided view, it's going to be really difficult for them to connect with other people, to see other sides. And not only that, it's damaging for people who are like the ones being shared about, and they see this and are like, whoa, they're talking about me with this awful point of view. This happens a lot with Muslims, and my family is Muslim, and every time Islam was brought up in like lessons, it was always this negative side. It was always that they were bad, violent people. So the way I felt is, do people really see me like this? Do they see all Muslims as these violent people? Is this how my classmates are not going to see me? My teachers, my community? If you always show the one side of a group, a race, or anything, then people will only see that. They will only see that when they look at you. They won't understand there's more to you. And it's damaging for everyone, the whole economy, the community, the world.
Yep, for me, I'm going to say this. Me going to ACA, this predominantly white institution, this independent school, was probably the best decision that ever happened to me. It was transformational. It had a huge impact on my own trajectory, especially in terms of the direction I would go in. I had mentors, I had folks who guided and led me. I had folks who were my friends, and they were my friends because they loved me, they cared about me. They were not my friend because I was Eddie Carson, right? I mean, they were my friends because of me. I would definitely say they were welcoming. Were they wholly inclusive? Probably not. They were not inclusive to the sense where my lens, right, being a black man in the school, was not, I struggled and saw things very, very differently. In many ways, people couldn't understand the world by which I saw this framing. I'll never forget, and I'm not going to mention the sister's name because I'm in contact with her, and I like her a lot, but, I'll never forget an English teacher I had that thought it was okay for us to read Gone with the Wind, and to really praise and kind of celebrate this somewhat, antebellum Dixie approach to the world. And that just struck me at the time, to not being somewhat inclusive. Now, in this person's defense, she's evolved in a lot of ways too. But yet, there was this really, what I would call right-wing conservative ideological element that existed there that was very uncomfortable.
The P Village is located right next to the Beijing International Airport. Almost every 3 minutes, an airplane is heard roaring over the village. The village is consisted mainly of immigrant workers who came to Beijing from poor rural neighborhoods with a dream for a better life. Her name is Xu Jia, a 6th grader of the charity elementary school of P Village. Xu Jia was brought to Beijing when she was 4 years old, and she has always thought of Beijing as her home. Every Saturday, apart from all kinds of extracurriculars, children of the P Village go to various clubs held by volunteers from universities, like chess, board games, dance, etc. A dance class lasts for 4 hours, where students learn basic dance movements and different types of styles and techniques. Traditional Chinese dancing is required for everyone. Those preparing for contests can stay over time. Only the top dancers in the class have the opportunity to learn ballet. For Xu Jia, the best dancer in the class, she does all the above. Xu Jia's mother also signed her up for an extra English class, which she believes will benefit her daughter's future. But no matter what their plan is, they have to leave Beijing and go back to their rural neighborhood where there is no dancing or English education. To renew the city landscape, in fall 2017, The government announced a population deportation policy. It'll deport the so-called low-end population, which mainly refers to immigrant workers like Shijia's parents. One of Shijia's friends is leaving the village. The day went on in laughter and tears. Still, Shijia goes to dance class every Saturday. She knows about her upcoming departure. She has no control over whether she leaves or not. Maybe her only control is to cry or not to cry.
I think the STEM sciences are incredibly important as regards to formal education, and certainly as students lead up to becoming more sophisticated. I struggle to believe that someone in their freshman year can think as critically as someone who becomes older. You know, there's a massive build of knowledge and sophistication that occurs in your 4 years of high school. So I think the STEM sciences are very, very good grounding in formal education. You know, you've got facts, you've got truth, the right and wrong. But then there's a massive role for the humanities and for quality education, so encompass all the sciences, all the humanities. We're saying that the US does really well because you take 4, 5, 6 classes at different one each year, and you can progress through all of them. And so I think the humanities are great at encouraging critical thinking, a degree of culture. You know, people really need to learn about their history, need to learn about their literature, need to learn their languages. And I think it's a shame when people become highly specialised at an early age. I think that's one good criticism of the UK system, is they become very highly specialised. That's a very good question. In the last 2 years of the UK education system, you take your A-levels, which means that you study 2, 3 or 4 very specific subjects, so your biology, your chemistry, your math, as well as your politics, philosophy, sociology, music, for 2 years. And that's completely different to the US, where you're taking 5 or 6 classes, which are all completely different to one another. And so that's really the big difference. The US has sort of got a more broadly spaced spectrum of classes throughout the 4 years, whereas in the UK, for your GCSEs, which you do in your freshman or sophomore year that comes to the UK, you do more like 8 or 9 different subjects, and then you super specialise in your last 2 years to do 1, 2, 3 or 4, really, really specific. So I think the US encourages more of a broad education overall. Yeah. Well, education, I truly believe that you've got to learn stuff for yourself a lot of the time. You know, I've always been massively into history, and the history that I learned when I was younger was not the history the teachers at school taught me. It's stuff I've got to learn myself. When it comes to politics, it's stuff I've learnt myself. When it comes to philosophy, stuff I've learnt myself. And there's obviously a really, really important role for school and class with your formal education. But I believe that the level of education is absolutely equal to everyone. You just got to go out and get it for yourself.
Hi, I'm Leela Wright. We're at 55 Reservation Terrace on Plum Island. This is the Newburyport end of the island. So the situation here, this is the mouth of the river, and the jetties that were reconstructed in 2014 and 2014 were extended. So when they extended the jetties, there was an area of the jetty, this small area here called the groin or the spur, that was covered with sand at that point. And as the sand washed away from the water circling and basically just carving out this cove you see behind me, they realized that there was an error made. That was 7 years ago. So we're still dealing with the fallout of that.
As a Plum Island resident, how have you seen Plum Island change over the past few years?
There have been a number of changes. Environmentally, we have seen the loss of sand, particularly along Reservation Terrace, along the river's edge. We're not actually on the ocean here.
And how has this affected you as a resident?
Well, twice a day, every day, you have to take into consideration the tides. You have to think about whether or not you want to schedule to come home or stay away in case you can't get into the driveway. We've lost our driveway, we lost our water line, we've lost, I don't even want to guess how many hundreds of thousands of dollars of value in our homes. At this point, there's no pavement underneath us. We've lost it. It's washed out. In trying to bring attention to it, you're always walking a very, almost like walking on a tightrope, because you're asking for attention and help to a situation that is not of your making. And when you're asking for assistance, for somebody to come forward, you have to be really careful how you go about it. And we tried being quiet, and we tried letting the politicians deal with it as that was what we thought needed to happen until we were about to lose our home. And then,
what action has the city taken so far?
So their initial action was to do the dune renourishment. That was actually in 2017, the first dune renourishment. The second one was in 2019. And what that was bringing in sand and planting seagrass. When that didn't work, they tried these white bags that were called super sacks. And they were 3,000 pounds, giant circular sandbags. And they actually caused more damage than they did any good, because they were round, the water washed around them and washed out all the sand around them, and washed out the wall behind that, and washed out the road behind that, and after the road was our house. They did finally remove the majority of the sandbags in May, and then they did nothing until in September. They brought out a load of rock and some Jersey barriers just out here, because at that point we were losing 3 feet a day. And we knew we had 6 days before we lost our house. So they did that, and that kind of opened the path for being able to have what's here today. And now we have this very nice solid rock structure. We have core bags on either end, but if the dredge, which was supposed to happen this year, was delayed a year, if that does happen next year and they put 260,000 cubic yards of sand on the beach, then we'll have an opportunity to try to, continue to work with the Army Corps of Engineers to fix the spur that will help solve this erosion problem.
What baby needs is a pair of brand new shoes. Just where the road may lead you sometimes isn't always ours to choose. What baby's got.
Name Michael Gorman, age 29. I live in Methuen, Massachusetts. Started TMF in 2011, and I'm the founder of the program. So the movement family started in 2011. I was an 18-year-old kid, just graduated from Methuen High School. When I think of how the program started, I had a supportive mother and a supportive dad, but the people that I was surrounded with didn't have that support and love. A lot of my friends, dad was absent and mother was working 2 jobs and didn't have that, guidance. It was missing that guidance, that love, that comfort. So I decided to start a second family for anyone looking for a second family in life, one that is seeking love, guidance, and support. So it started off as a workout group, and on the weekends, we did activities our family members might have never brought us. Mini golfing, bowling, we went to a zoo. We didn't have any money for years, so we had to be creative with a yard sale, a basketball tournament, a car wash. It was a bunch of young minds, young souls that believed. And I don't think people understand the power of the people coming together, especially young minds, and they believe in a certain vision, they work together. I really truly believe just by seeing this group that anything is possible. As the years gone by, we brought in the community aspects. So we decided to concentrate on 3 areas. That was homelessness, addiction, and prostitution. So we started a Wednesday night dinner. So every Wednesday, we're out here giving back to people who are living in the street, currently feeling hopeless, see no way out.
I like the people because they're very nice and they're very nice feel and they're kind and like one woman brings coffee all the time and she's so nice.
Every time you walk into this place, you just feel amazing energy. Like everyone's happy to see you. People remember you by name. There's never, you never come here and it's negative. Like no matter what everyone's going through, everyone's always positive. And
when I went, I was shy for the first time, but they were loving. They were nice people and welcoming.
It's very consistent and it feels good. It feels good knowing that, if you have somewhere to go.
I think when people think homeless and addiction, they instantly think just street, you're holding a cardboard sign, you're addicted. In reality, it doesn't discriminate. Anybody can be fighting a battle. You don't know what someone's going through behind closed doors. Treat others with love. You don't know who just needs a smile for the day and who's just tired of living. It's important for kids to get involved in their communities just because it opens your eyes. I'm currently in the master's program for school. I've learned a lot more with what I see with my eyes than I have with the books. I saw someone have cotton fever and shivering in front of me. I wanted to see with my eyes. I wanted to go under the bridges. I wanted to see the alleyways. With me seeing it, I feel like I understood more. You learn a lot from the books and you take it with you, but things that you see is huge in life.
You have to get into your community so that you understand what it's like to help others. So you understand that you can help others. So that you understand other people. It's just really important.
A lot of people is like, how can I help? Where do I start? That could be starting with just you and your friends. I'm a big believer in working your way into someone's heart. Sit down with someone, learn, conversate, learn their story. Tell them you matter. Tell them you can overcome this. If people hear that stuff sometimes, they need maybe at times for someone to believe in them before they can believe in themselves. Sometimes it does take that. Yeah, 86400. My dad would text me every morning, every single morning, whether I was going to school, work, and he said 86400. What are you going to do with it? He explained to me you have 86,400 seconds in a day. It's up to you how you want to make a difference with it. Well, I thank my dad every day because in his personal mindset, he cherishes day by day. He cherishes time. And if you don't live in the moment, you don't appreciate what you have, life will pass you by. And I would tell him I'm grateful and I'm going to attack the day. I'm going to accomplish something today. And I keep that with me and I try to pass that along to somebody too.
looks like it's polluting the air. That can't be good for our environment.
Ivan! You want to take the dog for a walk?
Sure. Come here, Melly. Come here, Melly. Let's go on a walk. Let's go. Can you take the dog in?
Sure. Have you noticed how high the water is up on the rocks? The past few times we've walked the dog, it seems so much higher these days.
At the beach?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. Why has it been so high lately?
Maybe storms or something?
Interesting. I'm not sure because there haven't been many storms. Weird. Okay, let's head back. Oh my goodness, it's already the 29th of November? Wow. Oh my gosh, it's almost 70 degrees outside? It's November 29th. Oh my, it's hot. I wonder why it's so hot in November. It's almost December.
The best thing that happened to me during the pandemic was I became really close to two of my friends.
I feel like I had more time to work on like the projects I felt close to and connected with.
There was more free time to like keep up with old friends.
They really just kept me going during this whole thing, and I consider them some of my best friends now.
The best thing was probably being able to finally come out. Also probably meeting my boyfriend.
Got a lot of alone time and got to develop a lot of my skills.
Probably having time to myself. I really got time to like sit down with myself and think about like what I wanted to do, how I felt, really work on my mental health a lot.
So the worst thing was probably like my mental health plummeting a lot. Even with all the opportunities of like talking to people online, I couldn't force myself to do it because I felt like I hadn't talked to people for so long. Starting conversations just like, it just felt wrong somehow.
My grades started to suffer a lot.
My mental health just completely deteriorated. It like just started rolling downhill.
Probably uncovered a few more issues than I thought I had. Realized I had way more anxiety than I thought I did.
One way that I've grown over the pandemic was I became more confident in myself, I feel like. I kind of like stopped judging myself so much and comparing myself to people.
Be in my own company better. I used to like want to be with people all the time and out doing stuff all the time, but I think I've learned to appreciate just being alone. And relaxation was never something I did before, but now like I know how to make time for it.
I've definitely grown in like terms of accepting myself.
Well, I've learned a lot about myself, discovered more about the hobbies and things that I like to do.
I think I've become more in touch with the person I wanted to be and know I can be. Like I feel like I'm like nicer than I was like when the pandemic started. I feel like I know more about myself and what I want to do. Like I know I can't sit in my room all the time, which I could have before the pandemic.
I felt more confident in like knowing myself, and that's prepared me for the future.
Our generation was affected in a interesting way, I think.
We were going to high school, and that's one of the most prime times in your life. That's when you figure out a lot about yourself. And having the pandemic like interrupt that, it like took away a lot of experiences that would have changed you as a person and shaped you.
I do think that Gen Z is a little bit pessimistic, or at least I am, personally. I can be a little bit pessimistic.
A lot of it has come from the pandemic because we've had so much time to actually think about like things and, you know, look at the world and all of the issues there, because normally we'd be in school, but there was a lot more free time to really see that.
It's so difficult to be a teenager watching the world just like fall to pieces. As a kid, that's just so hard to watch, and it's even harder to sit there and not really be able to do anything.
Do you have hope for the future?
Yes? Maybe?
I have hope for some things, but other things I don't have hope for. I think I have hope for society. I think society will improve with our generation.
I do have hope for the future. I feel like Gen Z is a lot more motivated than a lot of other generations have been on certain things.
I think that there's a lot of like really strong people that like I know, and people who I've seen on social media who like are raising awareness and doing big things and really putting the time into it to create change.
There's enough of us that want to use our voices. There's enough of us that want to be heard and make change. I think we are driven enough to at least fix this world at least a little bit.
I can at least pretend I have hope. Because if I don't, you know, like, who wants to live for, like, impending doom coming?
Bonnie Winokur, born in 1944, lived in Chelsea as a kid, lived in many different apartments throughout Boston and the Metro West area, and met Mary in 1984. We got together in 87, and we've been together ever since. It comes to about 34 years. Started teaching in 1965. I was already out as a lesbian. I came out when I was 18 years old. It was very difficult because you could have been fired if they would have found out. So I lived two lives and I lied a lot. Things got easier in the 90s and I began to tell certain people. But prior to that, from the 60s to the 90s, was very difficult. I love teaching. I love the kids. I love seeing you guys around. It makes me feel like I'm right back.
Like she's back teaching without the work. I grew up in Medford, and I was married for 23 years. I have a daughter, a son who's a science teacher, and another son, and 3 granddaughters. I did the regional research on birth control pills in the 60s.
Wow.
Best job I ever had in my life.
Maynard is a wonderful, diverse community. There are a lot of gay people in Maynard, and we're very welcome in the community. I've never felt any discrimination in this town whatsoever.
Next question, how did you guys meet?
We met at a meeting. It was, a group of lesbians actually that were meeting out here in Concord. I don't think I'd ever been out this way in my life, to tell you the truth. The farthest west I ever
She's
got.
a city person.
So I came out, and she was brand new. She was still living with her husband and her kids, and she spoke at that meeting and talked about coming out as a lesbian, and she had gone to therapy, and she had been very unhappy. And us older women that were around, sort of took her under our wing, not just me, but everybody, and we became very good friends. She was going through a very tough time, leaving her husband and her kids and the dog and her home. We started talking, we became very good friends.
We were friends for a long time. Then you went to Florida.
Then I went to Florida, you're right. And I was sitting on the beach in Florida, all by myself on Christmas Day, which was very weird. And I thought about her, and I called her up and asked if she'd like to go out with me on my birthday. She had left her husband, and she was living with somebody in Sudbury, and it was snowing out here, but raining where I was. And she said, I don't think I can drive into the city. So she stood me up, and it was my birthday.
She never forgave me for it.
And I had to decide, well, I was hurt. Should I be angry? And I thought, well, she's really a good person. She's really a nice person. So I said, let go of the anger. Try again. And we did. January 17th it was. And the rest is history.
Put her on the phone. Yeah, can you put her on the phone, please? I need to talk to her. Yeah, I know what I know, that's why I want to talk to her. Please, she's my best friend.
Did you hear? What? They freaking broke up. People say she cheated on her.
With who?
Shh. I don't know who. But her best friend knew and said nothing. Imagine that. Dude, they're all such sluts.
I can't even. I mean, did you see what she was wearing today?
No, what?
Not belly fat, just like hanging out.
Ugh. Oh my god.
I know.
Oh my god, did somebody leave their pad here?
Ew.